Kristin, so
Hi,
nice to
Stas.
to get a chance to speak to you. Thank you for being a guest on Think Clever podcast. I'm really excited to ask you so many questions. This is a transformational time in terms of businesses, and some things are falling apart, some things are actually coming together. A wonderful opportunity for businesses to go online, for people to go with whatever gifts, whatever skills they have to bring them online and create them into unique products and services. And this is exactly what you do. And I would love to spend this time to pick your brain on some strategies and how you're helping your clients currently, so our listeners can walk away with some hands-on strategies that they can implement starting today.
That's my favorite thing to talk about. So let's do that. It's our Friday morning. This is normally our accountability partner call time.
Exactly.
So I'm ready for this, Stas.
Yeah, and
Let's go.
this was inspired because during our last call, I had this revelation. Because we were talking and I was seeing how serious you are about your business and how committed you are, how much discipline you have, and how you treat it as it is a real business, and that's how you treat it. And I think for a lot of people out there, they have this hobby, which for me, that's how I treated my podcast. I was treating it as a hobby, and so I wasn't really putting myself full force to actually make it into something huge. And you inspired me to shift that mindset. So I would love to get more into the details of this mindset.
That's really an honor. Thank you. Yeah, in our last talk last week, what inspired this conversation right now was us getting onto the topic of what's the difference between the hobbyist and the business owner, right? And the main difference between the two mindsets is really, it boils down to commitment. And a lot of us are really scared when starting a business to go all in because we don't see the 20-step plan for how it's going to be successful. And that can scare the crap out of us. There's no guarantee that you are going to be successful unless you commit to being successful. And I think, you and I share the same mentor, right? Bo Eason. And
Yes.
One of the biggest gifts that he's given me is shifting my mindset from a 1-year type of goal kind of gal to a 10, 20-year goal kind of gal. And when I shifted my mindset in that way to saying, look, come hell or high water, I'm going to give myself a 10-year runway to accomplish my big dream. And if it takes 20 years, it takes 20 years. But I'm not leaving the arena until this thing is accomplished and done. That commitment, backed by giving myself a legitimate runway to accomplish that big dream, is the business owner mindset that allows you to weather the ups and downs of owning a business. And you and I talk about this all the time. There are some peaks and there are some valleys, when you run your own business. But if you only give yourself 1 year, and crap hits the fan like COVID, right? Mm-hmm. And let's just say I've got plenty of clients who are in the events industry. So 1/3 of their income for the year just got wiped out because all events were canceled. When that kind of stuff happens, if you're only thinking in a 1-year time frame and you're in a hobbyist mindset of like, if it works out, great. And I'm excited when things are going good, but when things are going bad, I'm like, where's the exit sign? Then you are never going to be able to get on the other side of that mountain and see the success that you're looking for. But if you give yourself a 10-year runway and you have 1 year that goes off course, you're not discouraged in the same kind of way where if your view is so myopic in only 1 year and your success is determined by one single year, you'd be ready to kick it, right? You'd be ready to throw in the towel and say, oh, this wasn't for me. I got to try something else. When really, maybe you just needed to give it more time and you needed to commit to seeing it through until you see that success.
Exactly. And I think it's actually a great filter to determine, is this something that you really want to do? because if you're committed to something, if you found this calling and this is the project that you want to commit to for 10, 20 years, it really doesn't matter if it doesn't pick up the first year or the second year, because, usually there's this esoteric question that's good to ask yourself. Would I be still doing this if I wasn't making any money? Right. So this is kind of like one of those questions that, do you truly love this activity, or this hobby, this job, or is it something like that seems cool? I remember somebody gave this example that they always wanted to be a rock star, but then when they figured, I think it was Mark Manson, he said, I always wanted to be a rock star. And then when he went through the process of, you got to go to rehearsals, you got to carry your instruments, you got to travel the tour. And then he realized, you know what? No, I don't want it. This was just a fantasy. And so this is a great point, right? If, like, let's say within a year, if things are not going well and you're deciding to drop it, then perhaps you saved yourself a lot of time pursuing something that wasn't really your true calling. But if it is a true calling, then you got to look at it, long term, 10 years, 20 years, something that you're willing to fall down and get up again.
And Stas, I think like the next question on everybody's mind is, how do you know if it's your true calling?
Exactly. So that is my next question.
I was gonna kick that one to you and be like, so Stas, tell me, how do you know your true calling?
I'll listen to your answer first, and I'll come up with mine.
Such a gentleman, as always, Stas. So, for me, and I think that this process can be individual, but I have an online course that is entirely dedicated to helping people figure out what is your next big move and how do you get started on it. And the strategies that I teach in that course are all related to what I use to figure out what was next for me. I used to be a teacher. You know this story, but I was convinced from the time that I was 3 years old that I was put on this earth to be a teacher. My grandma was a teacher. My mom was a teacher. My aunt was a teacher. Everybody in my family was an educator. And I really felt that that was my calling. And when you grow up that way, you can really think that that's your identity, right? That's what you were placed on this earth to do. And that's very motivating. I dedicate my education to it. I travel across the country. I move across the country from California over to Boston, Massachusetts. And I go into grad school. So I'm investing in grad school. And I am miserable in grad school. Like, I don't really hate my life because I'm a pretty positive person, but I was noticing disease coming up in my body because I was holding on to this stress. I was resisting this intuitive memo that I was getting that this is not right, because I'm a fighter. And I bet a lot of people listening can identify with that. Like, I don't quit. And so there was a big thing wrapped up for me in quitting, even though I was getting all these messages of this isn't right. You got to stop, turn around, do not pass go, do not collect $200. This is not right for you. But I'm getting my master's degree, right? My whole family has like alphabet soup dribbling off the ends of their last name. It's PhD this, MD, LD, whatever. And in my family, having that higher education degree is what security is. That's the right thing to do. I eventually listened to those intuitive memos though, and I quit. And I had no plan B. There was no like, oh, if you quit teaching, like, what will you be? Because that was who I was supposed to be. But what I did next, I did this at this time of quitting graduate school, and at the time of, I found another job, at the time of quitting that job to start my business. The biggest thing that helped me identify what was next was paying attention to what lit me up. So when I decided to quit my graduate program, I had enough wisdom at 23, thank God, to not say you're not a teacher at all, but to pay attention to, okay, what from that experience gave me life, gave me energy. Every single day when I was with the kids, when I was preparing my lesson plans, when I was in my graduate program, what were the things that lit me up? We're always investing energy in things. And there are some things and people and situations and activities that when we invest energy, it gives it to us manifold back. And then there's some things that we go and do and people that we're with, that when we invest energy in those things, it sucks the life out of us disproportionately, right? And so I kind of, I paid attention to those things, and I really spent time writing that out and I call them, this is something from Jesuit, like tradition, Ignatian spirituality. It's an exercise called consolation and desolation journaling. Consolations are those things that give you life and energy. Desolations are those things that suck the life out of you. And so I wrote those out. What were the things from my experience that gave me life, manifold back, that lit me up? What were the things that sucked it out of me? And still after that, I'm like, well, that's nice, but now what the hell do I do with that? Like, what does that look like in a job? What does that look like in a career? And so I started speaking it. I had enough humility, thank God, to go to people who I admired their passion and their work and say, here are the things that give me life, that I love. Here are the things that suck it out of me. Do you know a job where I can do a lot of this, but like less of that? And I probably had 20 phone calls with people that I didn't even know, Stas. Talking. And eventually I started seeing themes and seeds that started leading me down this path. And that led me to my next job at a nonprofit organization called Year Up. And it's not that Year Up was the perfect job for me either, but it did cultivate, and I didn't know this at the time. You don't know this stuff until you have retrospect, right? But at least I had faith that this was the next right move. This was in a direction that was going to light me up more than the previous step. And I think that's the keyest thing, is just follow what lights you up. And it did light me up. And it taught me, it cultivated in me the skill of coaching, because I was doing performance coaching for young adults. And little did I know that that was going to be necessary for me to be running my own business 3 years later. I didn't know that. I thought that I was going to be in the nonprofit sector this whole time. But I think that if you follow what lights you up and you have the courage to go and tell people, this is what I'm intending to create, then you are opening yourself up to receive the guidance, the support, the unexpected helpers on your path to get you closer and closer and closer to living out your mission in its fullest expression. That's what I think. What do you think? Kick it back.
It's beautiful. It's so beautifully said about following what lights you up. And I thank you so much for sharing that. Was it the desolation and what was the other one?
Consolations. Yeah. Consolations and desolations.
I think that process of self-discovery is so powerful. It's just actually sitting down and understanding yourself better. Like, so many people are in a rush. I was definitely one of those people, just always rushing and never really, like, it doesn't have to be that, different types of jobs excite you. Different activities within a job can excite you.
Yes.
And this way you can actually find out, like, okay, I actually like negotiating, or I like presenting. And then it's like an onion, you start peeling it and you figure out, okay, I'm actually focusing more on the skills and the activities. And now how can I expand these activities? And you know what? We live in such an amazing time that if this job doesn't exist, you can create it.
Exactly.
You can become a mindset coach, a performance coach, a life coach, a health coach. I mean, anything, anything that you're good at and you're truly fascinated by it, because in a society where people are rushing and they don't have time to become experts in everything, they're okay with paying money to an expert that will explain them how it works, because you're excited about what you're doing and you're committing so many hours into this. So if I wanted to know how to take business online, how to create a unique product, I would go to you. And that's why we're talking, and then if I want to to find out more about my health, my gut health, my microbiome, I would go to a particular doctor for that. So that's, that is definitely, I would say, the first step is the step of self-discovery, understanding, which parts do not serve you anymore, which parts really excite you, and kind of switching the balance of the inventory of putting more things into the inventory of what excites you.
Yes.
And to me, when I started doing that, when I shifted the scale to doing more things that excited me, I found myself more in the flow state. And the flow state is a wonderful, resourceful state in which I would love to be all the time, because this is where magic happens. Opportunities come along, you meet people on the street, and all of a sudden they're saying, hey, you know what? This sounds exciting. Let's collaborate and do stuff together. Exactly. And that's how, what you were saying, like, listen to this intuition. You don't know where it's going to lead you, but it's leading you somewhere because you are spending more time in the flow state. And this is where, I know you and I would like to take things a little bit more into esoteric spiritual terms, but this is where universe steps in and says, you know what? Good job of following your passion of
gold star.
Exactly. Good job for following your passion, for staying excited. Here are some of the opportunities to actually speed up your path. And all of a sudden you find yourself doing what you love and sharing it with others people and inspiring, just like you are doing right now with us here in Think Clever.
Well, and when you're in your flow state, you're so attractive. You're so magnetic. People, I think there's a lot of fear around looking stupid when you're going after your passion. And I make an idiot out of myself all the time. I really do. But I think that don't try and play it cool. Like, people don't like cool. People like real, people like vulnerable, and people love your genuine love for what you do. I think this is such a great equivalent to even being in the dating arena. Like, and Bo uses this example, right? Our mentor uses this example. Who's the guy that you wind up marrying? Is it the person who at the bar is just kind of chilling, laying back, being the cool guy? No. I think you look like when I look at you. I don't want anything to do with you. Who you wind up marrying is the guy who looks at you and then immediately spills his drink because he's all flustered, right? And maybe gets some barbecue sauce down his shirt, but is genuinely excited about you. That's who you're attracted to. That vulnerability, but also that raw enthusiasm. And you express that when you are in your flow state, when you are paying attention to what lights you up, when you're investing in those activities, even if you're kind of starting off awkward and you're not quite sure what you're doing and you don't really feel like an expert yet. The more and more that you do that, the more magnetic you're going to become for the people and the opportunities and the resources that are going to help you along that path. People love supporting you when you're in that zone, and you're so attractive when you're in that zone. And you and I talk about this, your zone of genius, when you come alive, when you're in your flow state, is absolutely when you're in conversation with people. And I think that's part of the pivot in our last conversation, talking about hobbyist versus business owner, I was like, Stas, you are at your best when you are in conversation with others. That's when your inspiration comes through. That's when you're expressing yourself most fully. And I'm really excited to see you investing more time and resources and energy in the podcast, because that is your zone of genius. That's where you come alive and serve at your fullest capacity.
It froze for a second, but
undoubtedly, when I froze, that my face was in some weird face.
No, it was actually great, because it seemed like we had this profound moment where your face froze and mine too.
Great. Well, I don't know where we froze, but hopefully people will get the gist of it.
No, it was perfect timing. It was, I feel like the time stopped, that's what happened. But I would love to unpack this a little bit more, because I think this is exactly where it's coming down to what what I also wanted to discuss is how to create something, I would say, unique to you, right? Because people who are right now listening to this and they're thinking, you know what, I'm ready to go online. I'm ready to create something, a service or a product, have my own business, express myself. But what prevented me from doing this for so long, and because of that, I sat on the sidelines just watching other people do this, because every time I would come up with a certain topic to talk about or to actually, create something, I would find like 10 other people who are already doing that. And that would always, take me back. And I would say, you know what, I don't need to. So many people already talking about this. Why me? And then I just got like different advices from different people saying, you know what, you are unique in your own perspective, in your own history, in the way you have overcome those obstacles. Because the true value comes from when you have overcome something personally. Not what you read in a book or you heard something else and you're just passing on the knowledge, is when actually the challenge came to you and you accepted it and you went through the pain and you figured out how it worked and you came out of it. And now you're so excited because you can say, you know what, it's not that this is the only solution, but this is what worked for me. And I have spent a lot of time figuring it out, and now I'm happy to share it, so it's authentic. And so I think, that's where I wanted to unpack a little bit more the concept of authenticity, of telling your personal story, because everybody has our own story, and we can be selling the same service or the same product, but with a different story. And I would love for you to go deeper into this, because I know this is what you work with your clients on.
And Stas, I'd kind of like address it in two different prongs. First off, that fear of, look at how many other people are already doing this. Who's going to listen to me? Every human on earth has that fear. And especially in the coaching world, right? There are a lot of coaches, sure. But I would offer the reframe for anybody who's feeling that, and anybody who is, getting sucked into the Instagram scroll and being like, oh, look at how far ahead they are. Look at them killing it in business. Who's going to come and listen to me when they've got all these other options? The first thing that I would offer is, if other people are doing it, that is a sign that there is a demand and a need for that service. So rather than being discouraged, please reframe it and be encouraged that there is a market for your skill set. There is a market. There are people who are wanting what you are here showing up to serve. So rather than taking that as a sign of somebody's already doing it, I'm out, not me, it's already been done. No, flip that and say, ooh, people are ready for this. They can't wait for me to come out and bring my unique way of providing this service to bear, right? And then it gets to the story part. So who are your unique customers? Those are the people that are drawn to your story and the way that you uniquely communicate and deliver perhaps very similar ideas to other experts in the field. I'm a business coach. Listen, y'all, if you need some support in this, go do a little hashtag search about business coach and see how many people pop up, okay? There are a crap ton of business coaches out there, but none of them have the exact same life experience as I do. None of them talk the way that I talk, right? It's unique. And so is the way that every single person listening right now. You have a unique way of expressing your gift. You have a unique life experience that is going to resonate with the right certain people. And the biggest gift that you can give yourself in starting your business is not trying to be liked by everybody. Give that shit up, please. Because if you try to be liked by everybody, you are watering down exactly what this universe gave you to make you successful, which is your individuality. Nothing in this world is exactly the same. So why in God's name would we think that we would be any different and we should be like everybody else? That is a load of caca. And the way that we express our individuality is through story, is through telling our story and being vulnerable about the crap fiestas we've gone through, how we came through them on the other side of them. And every time I tell my own story, even though it's not even related to business, about quitting graduate school for one, right? And then I also tell the story of starting my own business. But even the graduate school one, it instantly draws in people to me who are like, I was a teacher. I had that same experience. Or I also had this idea that I was put on this earth to do something or following somebody else's footsteps. And I got to that same place of being miserable every day, waking up. It connects you to people. And they're not going to be connected to you unless you tell your true story and you don't skip over the caca. Like, people want to hear about how you rolled in it and you got over on the other side. And you don't get that genuine connection with the right people for you, the right people for your business, the people who love your message, unless you are vulnerable and you share your story and you don't skip over the crap. And that's something I am still learning and practicing, Stas. I think something that I hear consistently from people, the feedback I get, is that I come off too polished, that I come off too, which is funny to me because I feel like I am like a hot mess express sometimes, and like I lay it out there, but you have to pay attention to also some of the feedback from trusted people that you get. And so I'm consistently trying to stretch myself to be more honest about my fears, about when I don't have it figured out, about when I go for a goal and I don't achieve it, because people connect with that realness, and you only get that through telling your story.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for inspiring to be more authentic and to connect with our story, because our story is, every human being is on this planet to go through certain challenges, to certain experiences, to grow. And if every experience wasn't that valuable, maybe there wouldn't be so many people on earth. But there's so many people because everybody's story matters. Everybody's here to accomplish something. And so definitely thank you for the inspiration to connect with the story and to share it. I would love to for our listeners to have a little preview of the course that you teach, and maybe just few tactics that you talk about or strategies in terms of people who are maybe already started online business, but something that can get them to the next level. Something. Okay. And maybe if you could also share a little bit about your course, because that sounds fascinating. You explained it to me before, and maybe somebody would love to join it as well.
Yes. So I'll start with the business side. So, I work primarily with female solopreneurs, so one-woman show businesses. And a recent workshop that I've been giving is about how to bring your business online. And the focus that I take in that workshop is, how would I do it if I were going to bring my business online in 10 days? And I chose this focus really specifically in light of COVID, because there are a lot of small business owners who have a primarily in-person based business. Like, let's say that some of your listeners are body workers, like a massage therapist or something. That work is dependent oftentimes on being in person with somebody. And when that revenue stream gets taken away from you, I wanted to create a workshop that was specific to how can you pivot in 10 days. And the main things that I cover in that workshop are the 5 components of a successful online business. So if I'm speaking to a business owner who's just getting started, or who is finding themselves needing to adapt quickly to bring their business online, these are the 5 basic components of an online business that I would give them. Number 1, you have to have a website. That is your virtual doorstep. That is where you get to tell your story and let people in on who you are, what you bring to the table, the services that you offer, and how they can reach you and pay you, for God's sakes. Please accept some money. And how I would start it in 10 days, I'd go on Squarespace and do a 1-page scroll. Do not overcomplicate things. I don't want to get like too into a workshop here. I know that's not appropriate. But the other component would be a social media platform. You need to be where your customer is. So it's not about choosing the platform that you feel the most comfortable on. It's about understanding who is your ideal customer and where do they like to hang out. You go there. And the reason why social media is so important is because your website is static. Your website, you complete it for the most part, and it stays that way for like 3 years until you do a rebrand. Social media allows you to stay fresh and current on people's minds. They get to watch you not in just the polished version of the photos on your website and stuff like that. You know, in my Instagram stories, you're going to see me every single day, sweaty, on my run, spewing some inspirational talk or whatever, no makeup. And people want to see that real side of you. They want to learn who you are. They want to build a relationship with you. And you do that through social media, and you stay relevant on people's minds through social media. So it's creating a social media account on the platform that your customer's on. And then it's also email marketing. So choosing an email marketing platform. And the reason email is so important is because it has the highest return on investment for marketing. So Adobe did a study of return on investment for different marketing tools, and consistently email is number 1. Social media continues to rise the ranks. It was like number 4, now it's number 2, but email stays number 1. For every $1 that you invest in email marketing, you're going to get a $40 on average, $40 return. I hated email marketing, but that's a really good return. And if you want to make your business successful, it's time to just start with 1 newsletter a month. Even if your first thing is just, guys, I'm a life coach. This is what I'm doing. I'm so excited to make this announcement. And you connect them with some of your it can even be resources to the books that you're reading that are inspiring you, podcasts like Think Clever that are bringing you inspiration during your day, just to start connecting with your audience from the get-go. It's also the only platform for marketing that you actually own. You don't own social media. Instagram goes down, Facebook goes down. You own your email list. So that's an insurance policy on your business as far as I'm concerned. And then it's also about choosing a payment platform. I'd start with PayPal. There are problems with PayPal. We could discuss those later. But if I were to get started in 10 days, which is like what I want to communicate to your audience, if you could do this in 10 days, don't kid yourself. Like, go for it. If I were to get started in 10 days, I would get on PayPal. I would create a payment link and hook it up to a bank account. Boom, done. Now people can pay you. Great. And it's safe and secure. And the last thing is you need an offer, right? You need an online offer. And this one will apply to whether you are just getting started in your business or you've been in business for a while and you want to create a new revenue stream. It is so important. This is not going to be the last time we have a pandemic. Like, who are we kidding? It is so important to have different revenue streams. And if somebody's new to business, what a revenue stream is just a way of making money. So my revenue streams are one-on-one coaching. I have an online course. I have a membership program. And then I also have workshops and retreats. So those are my 4 different revenue streams. You need to have an online one. You need to have one that is not dependent on your location and whether or not doors can be open. And if I were to do this all over again, the online revenue streams, online offers that I recommend most because of their ease of getting started and like the low barrier to entry and their profitability are, first off, just coaching, right? I could be coaching you right now over Zoom. Boom, simple, done. Great. Take your expertise and you can monetize that into consulting and coaching. Group programs are excellent. I just worked with a client where she was in the events industry. She has an events business where she plans elopements in New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans. Have we not heard about New Orleans in the news, right? Everything gets canceled. And I was like, well, you're going to be earning your annual revenue goal. So we're just going to figure out a way that you're going to still stay on track. And we came up with this group coaching program that she's going to do. Within 2 or 3 weeks, she enrolled her first 10 people and brought in an extra $8,000 into her business in 3 weeks. Because the beauty of a group coaching program, you can do it online and you can build it as you go. So it doesn't have to be that you have everything figured out in advance. You can tell people, here's the general transformation you're going to get. Here's what we're going to focus on each week, but you can build that as you go. And the last thing that I really encourage people to look into is creating a membership program. So I love my membership program so much. It has transformed my life. God, I just love it so much. I would sing it from a mountaintop. Everyone should have a membership or a subscription program because it is a lower cost way to work with you, which is really important when people get hit hard financially, to give them a lower cost way of still getting your brilliance, of still getting your teaching and your service. You can provide people with community. People love community and it gives me life. I mean, mine is called Solopreneurs Circle. I get so much life and energy from working with all of these female entrepreneurs. They light me up. So yes, I get to give them community, but they give me so much energy. And let's be honest, it also gives you recurring revenue, which means that every single month you have something that you can rely on coming into your bank account, which is transformative for somebody who's just starting their business. Their credit cards get charged at the same time every single month. And there's no ceiling on how many people you can serve with a membership program versus one-on-one coaching. I can only take on so many people at a time. But with my membership program, that's scalable. And that is transformative for your teaching, transformative for your bank account, transformative for your life. So I love a membership program too. I hope that was
fantastic. Of course. Where can people connect with you and, if they want to learn more? Do you have a website and a social media?
I don't have a website. I tell everybody that they need a website, but personally, I don't think I need one. Yeah, I've got a website. Honestly, the best, and that's my name, KristinBrabant.com. But the best place to connect with me is definitely Instagram. That is where you get to see me, no makeup, sweaty, after my runs, talking my talk, sharing different, inspiring stories and business tips and strategies. That's where you can stay really up to date on the workshops I'm offering and things like that. And that Instagram is Kristin Brabant Coaching. And my last name, so my first name is Kristin Brabant Coaching. That's where you can find me.
Wonderful. Kristin, thank you so much for your time today and for opening up this whole world of possibilities. And I really hope this conversation inspires people to find their uniqueness and to find their voice and to execute.
I do too. And I hope that anybody listening to this, if you could use some extra encouragement, please know that I'm a real human and I really care about people starting their businesses and having the courage to just go for it before you're ready, before you feel perfect, before you feel like the expert. And I would love if you would reach out to me. Just send me a message over Instagram. I really care about people starting their businesses. So just want people to know that I'm a real human and I would love to hear from you if you could use extra support.
Thank you, Kristin.
Yeah. Thanks, Stas.